All right, it is Friday, July 7th. Welcome to Pass the Mic, episode 77. Joining me on Zoom, Mr. Michael Gervasi. Hello.
What's up? What's up?
How was your 4th of July?
It was fun. It was fun. Actually, I'm going to get to that a little bit later on. The best part for me, but it was fun. Parade was cool. Lots of good stuff going on there. Fireworks going off all over the place, even last night. And yeah, it was a good time. How about you?
I know the one thing I noticed, and we're off all summer, so it doesn't really matter. Tuesday is a weird day for that holiday. It's a tough
Yeah.
day. It seemed like the 4th was pretty tame compared to other years because I think most people had to work the next day. That was my
Yeah,
vibe.
I would
So,
agree. But it was, you know what, like last night. So we're recording this July 6th, Thursday. I actually felt like there was more late night activity yesterday than on the 4th.
hmm,
Now there was more the 4th total in totality, but
yes.
last night, man, it was 11:30. I was laying in bed and it sounded like a war zone out there. So it didn't really the 4th. I think it stopped a little bit earlier.
Maybe everyone's getting ready for Uncle Sam Jam.
Yeah. Hey, two of my favorite 90s bands, Sponge, local band,
Okay.
playing, and Everclear, father of mine, a few other ones that so yeah, I'm pretty excited. I might go.
I commented, one of my friends on Downriver from Friends commented that thing's still going on. He must not live downriver anymore. And I replied jokingly, yeah, is Winger performing? And some guy corrected me and telling me Winger is not performing, and then proceeded to list all the real bands that were performing.
I think Winger, or no, there was a couple 80s bands
I think
last year.
Was Winger really there?
Uh, there was some 80s bands. Maybe the listener can let us know. Now, I did find out Gin Blossoms were in Taylor, another 90s band.
Oh, I saw them perform at Disney World once.
Did you?
Yeah.
I mean, these are serious, that's the thing with me. Winger, they're easy to mock. I don't know if you remember the character on Beavis and Butthead, Stuart, the Dorothy
Stewart
friend,
had the Winger shirt.
had a Winger shirt on. So they're pretty easy to mock. But they were, she's only 17, a little creepy. I didn't age well, obviously. But
No.
I think the 90s band's a little more serious. Everclear had some, the Father of Mine song, pretty serious themes. Gin Blossoms. I like 90s music, so I am considering going if I can avoid some of the things you don't like seeing.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough parking and all that other stuff. Good luck to you. Mr. Max Bailey's gonna be happy. There's already been some singing, even though we got rid of the hip hop guessing. You already got some wingers singing. So that was some feedback we got last week when we heard that the hip hop names were going down, but I still sang some Billy Idol. He's not a big fan of any of our singing. He also, again, clarified my bus driver statement, because I think I lowballed that number within 30s. Those middle school buses are packed pretty big. I'm thinking of the high school buses. I noticed one thing, and as my career goes on, there's a lot less kids riding those high school buses. I think a lot of them drive, a lot of them get rides. Like they're not as full as they once were, but middle school buses are definitely full, and that is definitely a tough job. Did you get any other feedback last week?
Well, listen, I get feedback. My guys on my thread, they give me feedback all the time. One guy, Paul's just a hater, and he's mocks the show every time. But the other guys do comment. But so guys, there's a shout out this week. But I think we have the king himself, LeBron James, as a listener. Here's why.
Really?
He commented, he must be, because I don't know where he got this from. He watched Teen Wolf recently.
Okay.
And guess what he commented on?
What's that? Michael J. Fox?
No, he commented on the fact that the basketball in that movie is so bad.
Oh,
and he mentioned specifics, and I'm like, that was my hot mic, one of my hot mics.
Maybe King LeBron is a listener.
So yeah, I'm wondering if LeBron, he's welcome to come on, even though he's not.
Yeah, we're still waiting on Mike Tomlin from our very initial episode. So
right, but I'm thinking maybe LeBron's tuning in to pass the mic. He probably won't give us a shout out or anything like that. I'm not a Laker fan, but
or a Cavs fan,
or a Cavs fan, or a Heat fan. Yep. Where's he going next? Who knows? But who's the next trade team? Oh, the Lakers look pretty good for next year. They did really well in free agency. So shout out to my man Deontay in Arizona. He's a Laker fan. Go figure. He grew up in the 80s. He's a Laker fan and 49er fan.
Look at that. Yep.
Not a bandwagon fan, though, he says.
Yep. Nate was just talking about, he's watching the documentary on the Lakers. What was that, on Netflix or HBO Max?
Yeah, that looks pretty good. Now, the HBO did like a special.
Okay.
On Showtime. It's based on a book, very dramatic, very interesting. I'm almost positive we talked about that about a year and some change ago. Netflix did a documentary on them.
Oh, okay. All right. Anything else from last week?
No, that's it. That's it. That's
You got anything for your Mike of the week for this week?
yeah. I'm gonna. You're gonna get attacked because I have a feeling you're not gonna know this person. Now the name
Okay.
is not exactly Mike, but it's a diminutive. I looked it up, and it's a diminutive of Mike, so I'm using it. Mickey Goldmill. Do you have any idea who that is?
Mickey Goldmill?
Mickey Goldmill, fictional
No,
character.
that no, I don't know who that is at all. I'm not even gonna guess.
Oh man! All right. So have you seen Rocky 1, Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky
Yeah,
4?
I've seen Rocky 1, I've seen Rocky 2. I mean, but it's not something I religiously rewatch. So,
Mickey's the trainer.
oh, you know what? Burgess Meredith, right?
Yeah, Burgess Meredith. But
Okay,
Mickey,
yeah,
I said he's a
okay.
fictional character.
Then I know who he is. There's Chloe. We're gonna be seeing her later
Yeah, Chloe.
tonight at Captain Jim's. So,
I
yes,
thought to me,
so I did know who it was. Burgess Meredith. Okay. Now that I put the name, yes, I didn't until you reminded me.
yeah,
Burgess Meredith. Who was he in Batman? The old Batman.
you'll have to help me with that.
He was the Penguin.
Was he really?
I'm pretty sure he played the Penguin in the TV, like we're talking the old the old television series. A little thin to
Yeah,
be the
yeah,
Penguin, but he
yeah,
did it. All right, well, good. I sort of got it with some hints. I
yeah.
remember now.
You get
All right.
50% there.
All right, education topic for this week. I was thinking with the 4th of July, we're going to tie both of these things in with the 4th of July. I'm thinking
Yeah,
patriotism and that sort of thing. So, like in our parents' generation, the big thing was always uh, John Kennedy's assassination, right? Their
yeah,
moment of history of boom, I remember exactly where I was, blah, blah.
right.
And so I was thinking, why don't we come up with one or two of those for ourselves? However, I'm not allowing 9/11 because 9/11 goes without saying. That is
Sure.
basically, that's our Kennedy moment for our generation. Now, obviously, I don't think the one or two that we're going to come up with isn't going to be as big as those, because those are two of the defining moments of
Sure.
the past. But what do you have two or do you have one?
I have two.
All
And
right, so
this
we'll go one and one. We'll go like we did
that's
before.
perfect.
All right, so what's
Now,
your first one?
okay, let me ask you this before we get into this. First off, great topic. This one, I thought about this one for a while, and
I've changed mine. I've changed mine
yeah,
numerous times.
I decided to eliminate COVID too.
Okay.
I mean, impactfully that
Yeah,
long
that's a good one.
COVID,
I didn't even think of that one because I think maybe it's just recency bias. I tried going
right.
further back.
I did go further back. Now, let me ask you this though. Did you decide on like a positive or negative theme, or did you?
I just sort of thought of things, and again, I tried to. At one point, I had a school shooting in mind because it related to the work, and then I got rid of that, and then I just sort of kept going through my mind of, and then I went back to like, okay, 9/11. I remembered exactly where I was, so I
Mhm.
tried to think of one where I know exactly where I was. So that's one of the two. It may not be as big of a deal for other people. It has specifics for me, and then the other one I think is just a really big deal, and it's not even like a single day thing. So that's how and I go, these are the two, and I'm done. So, and
Okay.
I got a good joke that I work in on one. So,
I wrestled. I really did wrestle with a
this
lot.
was hard. Probably one of the most thought of topics that I've had. So, what's
Absolutely.
your first one?
My first one, I'm going to go. I'm just going to go chronologically. Then November 9th, 1989, and that is the fall of the Berlin Wall. Because that is, different historians interpret the Cold War ending at different ways, different times. But to me, this was first off United Germany. It brought and that was the hotspot of the Cold War at first. Berlin. I'm not going to geek out on here, but it was the hotspot, the fall of the Berlin Wall, and I know where I was for both of these. This one I'm a little embarrassed because I was so young, sixth grade, and they cut into the television show I was watching. Wanted to watch my television show and not realizing the historical significance of this event. And when I think about this band, the Scorpions, with the song "Winds of Change," and I'll impart this to my kids from time to time. There was truly a euphoric feeling, when this happened, which eventually the Soviet Union fell, and we can go on and on. That they called it the end of history, where free markets and free peoples and free, the world was just going to enter this new phase, and history was over. The negative, essentially, out with the negative, and it wasn't as pie in the sky as it might sound, but the feeling was, okay, clearly this model of dictatorships, be they left wing, right wing, whatever, the Nazis were vanquished in the 1940s, which led to the division of Germany, and now you had this system, the Soviet Union, as Reagan called them, the evil empire, falling. And so to me, that one, I had to incorporate something with the Cold War, so I'm going to go first with the fall of the Berlin Wall.
I'm going to flip flop mine around now because that was mine. I didn't really. I had it. I sort of my line is tear down this wall. I think former President Reagan, the speech went something like, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall,
Mhm.
and slowly wealth will trickle down upon Eastern Europe or something along those lines. I don't know if that's what the way the speech went. Historians may want to double check me on that. But in reality, we were at the very end of the Cold War. It was a long,
Yeah,
drawn out process. We sort of got the end, and by the time we were in school, the fear was sort of gone even by that point. You could sort of see the end coming. I don't think it was at its height, I
sure.
would say, in the early to mid 80s,
I think you're doing that with the perspective of now,
looking
but
back, yeah, looking back,
yes,
knowing what they
right,
really had, knowing how,
right,
but
right.
the Chernobyl explosion, sort of opened our eyes to that. But that was a huge deal that people nowadays probably don't realize like how big of a
Sure.
deal it was for our generation.
Right,
I can't,
right.
and that's why I sort of said I don't have a specific date for that one. You had the date for the actual wall coming down, obviously, but it was sort of a numerous process of,
Right, right.
basically I had the Cold War ending. The Cold
Okay.
War coming to an end and the Soviet Union breaking up was, and that was sort of like a very big deal. And I sort of, it sort of changed everything. And then we entered into this phase of, not really having an enemy until really September 11th, right? Like there was really no. I mean,
Yeah.
we had Iraq, which was like a TV war, but nothing that really threatened us on home soil, I guess I would say.
Right, right.
So that was mine as well. It was going to be my second one, but because I didn't have a specific date, not I wasn't going in any chronological order. But I think for anyone in our age group, I think that's in the top five, no matter what
Yeah,
it's not 9/11, but it's right there with it.
absolutely,
All right. So
absolutely.
what is your second one?
Um, Again, I wrestled with this, but this just such a horrible event. You took 9/11 off the table, but April 19th, 1995, the Oklahoma City bombing, Timothy McVeigh, Terry Nichols, just a horrible, horrible event. And it's not funny. It's almost sad to me. First off, I'll ask the students, how many of you know Timothy McVeigh? And then I ask myself, why would they? But none of them do. And then we watch something on it, and it really touches a nerve. And it's usually toward the end of the year, and there's this last little unit. We're trying to fit in a bunch of subjects at the end to try to get as close to the present as we can. And we kind of did this. And what I did a couple of years ago when I taught this class last was I taught this and then brought 9/11 after it. But it was a horrible event, and obviously, and every time I just the thought of the daycare center, and we watched this little ABC News did this documentary series, the century at the end of the century, 1999, and they did that event, and the kids are really touched by the heroic tales of people who were saved, but also the horrible stories as well. So that was my second one, and again, I had a hard time coming up. There was a lot of things I thought about, but this is my number two.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of, too, like, not that any of these things are quote unquote necessary, but sort of just out of the blue. Like why,
Yeah,
like why,
right.
and I don't think we ever really got really good answers for any of that. And sometimes I'm watching right now on Netflix, they have a special on the Boston Marathon bombing, and I think it opens up with the commissioner that was running in the marathon, and he says, sometime in this world, people just, I'm not quoting exactly, but he starts off the whole documentary by saying, sometimes people are just going to do the worst things, and there's no rhyme or reason, and that's that's sort of something similar to that, that goes with that. So mine for me, and the reason I know the date, I'm not going to it was the capture and assassination of, or the capture and killing of bin Laden.
Yeah,
It's May 2nd. But it's always for me May 1st. Again, I said this, I think, in the previous episode, was my birthday. The news broke here late at night on May 1st in like the 10-11 p.m. hour,
yeah,
which would have been May 2nd already in far out on the other side of the world. But to me, that sort of, since we couldn't pick 9/11, that sort of was the the wrapping up of that awful event, and something that went over the course of multiple presidents of the United States, that this man is tormented, and he was able to. It's just a big day for me. And again, does it selfishly tie into my birthday? Yes, but I think it's obviously quite a
sure.
big event, and in a way, it ties back to 9/11. I'm sure there's lots of people, depending on your age. I mean, people younger than us may have stuff that's quite different if they weren't born by 9/11. There's been some, unfortunately, these tend to be always awful things, right? They're always, that's unfortunately what you remember. And those, I think, the three we did, because we combined on one and then have the second one. I think those are clearly, I think, like in the top five I've had. I was going back and forth, either between, like I said, a school shooting, sort of like Columbine is sort of the one that tipped it all off.
I always think that was kind of the end of our innocence.
Yeah.
At that point, I remember, Mike, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I had a college professor who teared up talking about it, and now it's just happened so frequently that.
Yep. There's other. All right, overrated, underrated. Now we've done this topic before. We know we're going to come right out and admit it. But you said this is something you have some changes on it, or you've had enlightenments on it, and so we are. And it was just the 4th of July holiday, so I said that's totally fine. You can, if you want to bring this back to the table. I don't even remember what I said as my overrated, underrated, so I don't know if I'm even changing anything. I'm not going to go with low-hanging fruit of fireworks, because I think that was one of mine from last year. But what do you got for overrated 4th of July?
You're right, and I really wish I knew what I did before, but something happened the other day which made me want to change the underrated. But the overrated is easy for me. Hot dogs, and that's part of it is my bias because I don't eat pork. Although you don't have to just have pork hot dogs, but I do like the smell. I remember walking back from the parade, you could smell the grilling hot dogs. It was nice, but the taste of hot dogs to me are just so overrated. Give me a burger, regardless if it's a beef or chicken or whatever hot dog you want, or turkey, whatever. Give me a burger any day of the week over that. So I'm going overrated hot dogs.
Okay, here's the thing. Ballpark does make like all beef hot dogs.
I know they do.
That's what I usually buy. You don't trust that there's
no. I don't think they're any good. That's I don't. Right. This week they're talking about the hot dog eating contest.
I'm sure those aren't. Those are those lower quality. Although they sell Nathan's at the store. Okay, my overrated is, and again, I'm not for that day. I'm not anti-firework. I get it. Like
absolutely, sure.
So, but my overrated is this year on Downriver and Friends. The number of times it was asked where fireworks shows were, I don't know how people didn't lose. I lost their mind. I lost my mind doing it. And I full disclosure, I went to my sister-in-law. She has a good view of Lake Erie's Brownstown's from the back of her house, which was very nice. I didn't have to worry about traffic. To me, I would rather there's someone in your neighborhood that's going to have a good show. If you live in a residential neighborhood, somebody's going to have, I would not go drive into the parking, no offense to Brownstown Lake Erie, there's lots of ticks in there. All right. I know that from taking my cross country and track. I could not imagine setting a blanket, sitting in there. To me, these almost like nowadays that anyone could buy anything, you're better off. And then these people complain about the show.
Oh, let me give a shout out to an old friend of mine. I don't think he's a listener. I haven't seen him in a couple of years. A friend of mine, Daryl, though, on Downriver and Friends, called somebody out who said it was such a horrible show. And Daryl, his comment back was, my mom taught me better, so I'm not going to say what I'm really thinking to you. Something along those lines.
I think I may have saw that comment because I saw all these comments. You're probably better off just staying in your house,
right,
than going to listen. These communities don't have a ton of money. This is you're literally burning money. I don't know. And again, then I see these posts, these people go to, you've seen one, you've seen them. All right. I don't know what, going to Taylor's, to Trenton's, to they're not going to be that much different. And like I said, I think I sent our group text, you can go catch a Tiger game at Comerica Park on a Friday. It's a pretty good show. You got to see
it is. I was waiting for you. You didn't comment, the best of my knowledge. There was somebody that asked about a local business establishment. Downriver and Friends is great. Being closed. Do you know if it's closed down now? And the person wrote, no, they have this crazy thing called wanting their employees to enjoy the 4th of July, and it'll be open July.
Lots of knowledge being passed around there. I did comment today on the quote about Uncle Sam Jam. Winger is not performing, so don't. Anyone that's going there to see them, I'm not saying that. All right. What is your underrated for 4th of July?
So, okay. And this is not just a 4th, but I don't think people think about this when you think of the holidays. You get some good movie viewing and on any of these days. So, Mike, I got to watch with my daughter And my oldest one, I'm not gonna say she sat here the whole time, but she really loved the fights. We watched some of the Rockies, and and again, this is, you can make a case this is overrated, underrated, all holidays, because they often run marathons. Man, there was a Rocky marathon. Nice. And my daughter is sitting there watching, and she's watching the fights with me. She enjoyed the fights. Rocky 3, when he tells Mr. T or Clubber Lang, it ain't so bad, it ain't so bad. I told her, next time you're going into a swim, you're ready to compete with somebody, you got to say it to the girl next to you. It ain't so bad. She'll probably freak out wondering what you're doing.
Lots of Rocky drops today.
Yeah, so it was so cool. So that's why Mickey Goldmill was my, unfortunately in Rocky 3 passed away, but his ghost makes an appearance in Rocky 5. So yeah, I mean, to me, that's, if you're a marathon movie watcher, that we came home and watched some Rocky. It was a great moment. So Natalia and I loved watching Rockies.
Well, here's my underrated is going to tie into your sort of thing a little bit. To me, 4th of July, a lot of the other holidays are pretty regimented, telling you what you have to do.
Right.
Like Thanksgiving, got to get up. You have to be over here. There's a football. You want to the parade. Christmas, we got to do all these. It's very high stress. 4th of July, you can, if you're a daytime person, you can go to the parade, go to the carnival, have a couple beverages. If you're not into fireworks, call it a day at 2:30, 3 o'clock. Go home. If you want to do pizza, you want to do anything, you want to do carry out, you want to barbecue, you don't want to do barbecue, you just want to eat at the carnival. You do. It's really a you do you holiday, and it's also a holiday where most, a lot of places do close, but some places are open. So if you don't even want to take part in it, you're not shut off from the world. You're not lonely. If you're more of an evening person, if you're a boat person, you can just go take your family out on the boat. Yeah. A lot of people travel on the 4th of July. We did some years where we were traveling on July 4th, and nobody judges you really. Nobody says, "Oh my God, I can't believe they didn't come over for 4th of July." People, like I noticed when I went, like I said, when I went to my in-laws on the 3rd, the night before, the neighbors next to me had this huge party and everything. But then on the 4th, we went back over there again, and they weren't doing much of anything next door. Neither were we. It was just really low key. And so to me, the best part about the 4th is, and I've noticed I've changed over the years. There were years where I used to go all out, hit the parade, hit the carnival, stay up till the fireworks. And now I slept in that day, went over there. I had a beer at Captain Jim's. As Chloe opened at noon, grabbed some pizzas, brought it over to my brother-in-law's. He barbecued a little, did what you wanted to do. There's I think you stayed in, watched some movies. Again, I think it's a you do you holiday. It's one of the best ones for that. You don't feel sort of guilty or like, oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do this. Nobody says, oh, like Christmas, you sort of like, if people don't have decorations up or people don't have their house open for trick or treating, there's some judging going on, right? Oh, yeah. There's some, but for 4th of July, nobody cares what anyone else does.
Thanksgiving, you got to be ready for the big Lions playoff push, big game that day. You got to be ready 12:30.
So that is one good thing. Hey, it's all about freedom. That's, I guess, the holiday. It's all about it. It's all about freedom. So that's my underrated for 4th of July. I don't think I mentioned that one last time, so I think I know that one's different. All right, what do you got for your hot mic take for this week?
Okay, so I was watching a show recently that I'm a big fan of called Impractical Jokers. Have you ever seen it?
Never watched it, but I've seen clips of it pop up on TikTok or other social media sites.
I'm curious from the listeners, because I know the Baileys are not fans. My mom doesn't think it's funny at all. And then Kelly Warren's the one that turned me on to it. And I want to know, unofficial poll, and maybe we get some comments. Do you like Impractical Jokers or not? And really, it seems to be yes or no. To me, it is the funniest show on television, probably the funniest show that I've ever seen. Maybe Seinfeld is more amusing to me, but different types of shows, it's more reality based. But I have found that it's a zero-sum game. You either like Impractical Jokers or you hate it. So I'm just curious. I'd like to just do an informal, unscientific poll of our listeners. Do you like Impractical Jokers or not? I'm sure the Real Dog, I'm sure, will have a lot to say one way or another. So
this is like they send somebody out to do something, and there's some guys with a hidden camera, right? They have to do something goofy or dumb.
Yeah, the guy, and yes, and it's goofy, but it's done tastefully. There are 4 just regular dudes and were friends, when they were younger, and they started the show, and it's done very tastefully generally. And to me, and there's only 3 now, actually, one of them left, but I think it's an amazing, it's so funny to me. So I'm curious what the listeners think. So that's that's this week.
All right, I'm going to try something. I don't even know if this is going to work with the way that AirPods work and my phone works. I'm going to play a little something, not too much because I don't want it to get flagged for copyright. Okay. I don't even know if you're going to be able to hear this. All right.
Okay.
Do you hear it?
Do not.
Don't hear it. Okay. It's the intro to Juvenile's hit.
Oh man, and I couldn't hear it.
You couldn't hear it. I don't even know how we can. I don't know how we can do that. I'm trying to see how this works with. I got my input. I got input coming in there. It's supposed to be coming right from my AirPod, but do you know? Have you ever heard of NPR's Tiny Desk Concerts? I sent you the link to it in our group
That's
text.
the first time.
Have you ever heard of that?
I have not.
It's been around for a while. So basically, if you don't know this, Juvenile went on this NPR show and did a concert. They do these concerts like in these small settings, and
What's the song called?
it's called "Back That Ass Up."
Oh,
Manny Fresh, producer, was there with. So if you watch this video that's out there now, you can go look this up and watch it. They're performing, but they also have some classical string instruments. It's not. It's an amazing setup.
it really is.
And it made me think of, for our generation, those opening notes. How many songs like that have those opening? No, you don't even need a lyric, and it could set a place, or it, and it could set a room on fire. Okay, I remember Jermaine Hill tweeted back. I think I sent you guys a tweet. There was a game down in New Orleans, and they didn't know he was performing, and she was like out in the corridor and heard those notes, and she even tweeted like, "You hear those notes?" And she just went running back into the. I'm trying to think how many songs from our generation that have those opening notes. It, and it's going to be it's a banger. You know what I mean?
It will take me a minute. One song I could think of, it's a little slower, but opening note starts, you know it immediately. "Summertime" by DJ Jeff and the Fresh Prince.
Okay. I think the Rolling Stones "Start Me Up." It's a little older.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But that's sort of one that, like, you hear that, you immediately, like, even a lot of people that aren't, but that to me is one. But like, I would like to know from our listeners what songs in their catalog, in their head, that they like, where it's just it's those opening line. It could be like one or two.
"Under Pressure" by Queen, David Bowie.
Yeah, but do you know if it's "Under Pressure" or if it's
That's true. That's a good one. That's a good question.
Yeah, but I just, you're usually the music guy, but I was thinking about it the other day, and it is one of my favorite songs. It's in almost all of my playlists, whether it be a like a writing playlist that I have, or relaxing stuff
So
that I can't.
I'm gonna use this as a plug then. This is truly one of your favorite songs. You got to do it more. You got to do it more loosely at the games this year. Well, we've done it once.
I always said, when I saw that concert for NPR, I had joked in the past that if I ever won like the Mega Millions, or like became instantly wealthy, like wealth beyond generational wealth, where I'm going to be wealthy, my kids are going to be wealthy. I always said I would try to figure out how much it would be to hire him, and I'd want to hire him in almost that exact situation, with a classic violinist, someone on the cello, and I would go to a board meeting, and I get my 3 minutes, and I'd announce my resignation, and then I'd defer my time to Juvenile to perform that as I walked out of the board meeting.
That'd be cool. That's
yeah. Or as I walked out of school on the last, have them play a graduation or something, just something that.
Some people aspire to ending world hunger. Some people bring Juvenile in on a retirement.
Juvenile and Pitbull. I probably bring Pitbull in too. Let's not. I don't want to. I don't want to. I want to have two acts. So. All right. So first of all, I want to. We're probably not going to have an episode next week. I'm leaving town for a little bit, so it's going to be hard to record, I think. So, but we will be back, I think, the week after.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get that retiree episode set up.
You got to get that one in. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we can start working on that. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to talk too much. I know we usually wrap up with sports. I saw a really cool story. The Pirates went back to LA. And do you remember that story years ago where McCutchen, the dad and the two young boys were in the outfield, and he gave them his batting gloves?
Yeah.
And they were going crazy. They were like young. I think it was like I don't even know. It was long ago.
It was, yeah.
Well, now they're all grown up, and the Dodgers and Pirates brought these kids back. They still had the gloves, and they got to meet Andrew McCutchen again. It was a really cool story. Yeah. As the Pirates with their $40 million payroll were out there battling with the Dodgers with their $200 million payroll. I'd love to hear how Ken Sikora thinks this is such a great sport where that kind of disparity in payrolls can play each other. But
Yeah, Max too. We got to make sure we.
Yeah, Ken Griffey Jr. I think is still the highest paid Red on the.
Bobby Bonilla Day just passed.
Yeah, Bobby Bonilla just got paid. What a business model for this Major League Baseball has going for them.
These guys haven't played forever.
You still got teams that are paying them. That's their.
And they were talking about it on the radio the other day. How do you think Bobby Bonilla? What do you think? You think it's direct deposit, or you think he walks out to his mailbox to get the check?
You don't think it's direct? You don't think it's direct? You think it's a paper check? It's not direct deposit.
Can you imagine him just every July 1st waking up in the morning just to go get that check?
Man, it's hey, sure annuity income. It's the way to go. He's good to go. So, well, we hope everyone had a great 4th of July. Hopefully, everyone has all their fingers and digits and limbs, and I think it's been pretty safe around here. So that's good to see. And it's getting closer. By the time we get back, we're going to probably be halfway through July.
The football training camp will start. Oh, real quick, one last thing. Jameson Williams took some heat from a 97-1 personality, Jim Costa, kind of an up-and-coming personality. Now Jim Costa is taking heat for criticizing Jameson Williams for lighting the fireworks. So it's interesting. Must be a dead sports time. Tigers lost.
Well, there's nothing really to talk about. So, but I mean, I remember when Ben Roethlisberger got in that motorcycle accident. These guys are people too, and they make bad choices sometimes. And but that's their life. I mean, I don't think as a fan you criticize anybody. Now the management, the coaches can, but
yeah.
I mean, what are you going to do? So, all right, everybody, have a great week, and we will see you next 2 weeks.
2 weeks.